Marvel Snap. It's a game I like, and I have a deck for it. It's a Jubilee deck. Is it the best version of the deck? This is the good version of the deck. I have the worst version of the deck, which is focused on making Jubilee work. Here she is. Jubilation Lee. It's strange that we don't have a version of Jubilee that works well with Wolverine, but here we are on reveal. She plays a card from your deck at this location. Now, this is where deck intelligence and memory comes into play, two things that I rarely have. She costs 4 and she has 1 power, but that's okay. The value is that she drags somebody from your deck onto the board, so essentially you get extra mana to play a much larger and more relevant. As part of that idea, I have to make sure that most of the deck is stuff that I would like Jubilation Lee to pull out. Which is why we use Quicksilver, who starts in your opening hand, and Domino, who always pops up on turn 2, and not before. That means we always have a 1 and 2, and so we could focus the rest of our drops on high-powered, high-impact characters. In practice, it's really, I think, just neat stuff I want to play. Our other 2-cost unit is Scarlet Witch, who is super important. She's 2, 3 power, and on reveal replaces a location with a random new one. This is extremely important for countering storms, locations that work against you. Generally a very good tech card. The locations are the heart and soul of this game. They are what makes every match different. So a little consistency on that front will help you a lot. Although, do be wary of playing Jubilee while Scarlet Witch is still on your deck, because that's gonna get weird. That's basically gambling. So you're probably gonna see me do it. Shiny Ironheart. 3, 0. Oh, that's terrible, you think. But on reveal, she gives 3 over friendly cards plus 2 power. This is incredibly good. As well, it does require you to have 3 over friendly cards in play before you use Ironheart. She is a free cost for 6 value. If you look at the other 3 drops, most of them have a value of 3 or even 4, not counting abilities. Killmonger, for example, has an amazing ability, but it's very much reliant on what the other guy is doing. Rhino is only 3/3 and ruins a location, and that only works if the location is bad for you. Ruins! Nakia is 3/1 for a total of 5 power, 4 of which are deposited in 2 separate cards in the leftmost part of your hand, so I think she's gonna get buffed. The fact is that while she has 0 power, she's very effective, and she can be used in locations that destroy her on play. Morph! This is one of the reasons why this is kind of a bad deck. In theory, it's a bad deck because there are a number of decks you don't want to play Morph against. Movement decks can accidentally give you a Heimdall and screw up your formation. Destroy decks can have you morph into a Carnage and eat your own board for negative value. But I think it's just great. I think it's just surprising because card costs are from 1 to 6, right? And he's almost always going to play higher than he should. At the very least, he's going to play even. So 4, 5, 6, 3 numbers that say, that's not how statistics work, by the way, but let this go. 4, 5, 6, better value. 1 and 2, worse value. 3, it's okay. So at most days, he's okay or above average, which is worth it. An additional value is telling you what the guy has in his hand. If you do get to steal his 6-drop, might not win you the game, but it'll tell you what he has coming, which can help you plan ahead. I actually think that's what I value the most out of this little guy, this shy little guy with a big fist, is the information that he gives me. I'm playing a suboptimal deck in theory because it doesn't have very clean plays. It's very fast and loose as compared to the Infininaut version. Infininaut, it's a machine. And unless you get lucky where you play your first drop, you're probably in trouble, especially if the locations are in the Infininaut player's favor. This is Infininaut, by the way. He's a jerk. Storm is a late addition to this deck because I only got her late because the pool system is super weird. It's both friendly to you and it hates you. If you don't know what it is, do a quick Google. I might make a video on it, but I have mixed feelings about it. Free cost 2, so she's small for her stature, but on reveal, she floods the location. Next turn is the last turn cards can be played here. Not only does this limit the next turn for the other guy, it also deletes a location because it's flooding, because you can flood Atlantis for reasons unknown to me. Usually, Storm is comboed with something like Jessica Jones, but we're not going to do anything that smart. With Storm here, that makes our goal for the first 3 turns is to establish power in one, hopefully favorable area, and then drop Storm there. And afterwards, well, that really depends on our hand. There's Jubilee, who can fill out that lane very nicely. There's our other 4-drop, the White Queen. Not the one you necessarily want, but again, I'm using this for information and not because I'm a huge pervert. 4 cost, 6 power, On reveal, draw a copy of the highest cost card in your opponent's hand. This basically tells you what their endgame is and whether or not they even have one. She's one of the better cards in the game just because of her stat line and her tiny feet. Not that I have a thing for that, but I just realized how tiny her feet are. This, along with Morph, can allow you to play the opponent's 6-drops twice, which is very demoralizing and important because of the betting system involved, or the snapping system rather. Look, if you were smarter, you wouldn't be playing her. Okay, you might be playing her still, or you might be playing something like Jessica Jones, which turns into an 8 and synergizes very well with Storm's ability because you're not going to be able to play cards for next turn anyway. Warpath, for example, is a 9 if you're sure you can keep the other locations empty and really commit to 2 locations and just fight for those. Our next drop, 5. -8. Oh no, Hobbo Gobbo. On reveal, your opponent gains control of this. Now this looks dumb, but it kind of is. In that, not only do you get to apply -8 to your location, to their location rather, but you also get to take up a space. Each location can only have 4 characters on each side. If you time it correctly, you can ruin a strategy. If you time it poorly, Hobgoblin gets stuck on your side of the board. Timing is important. Check out your name tag, see if it's glowing. If it's glowing on that turn, you get to activate first. So there can be some interactions wherein you deny their Hobgoblin while yours goes off. Let's say they have 1 unit on their side of the board and you have 4. They activate their Hobgoblin first, it doesn't move, yours will because you activate second. Interesting side note, this works with our 6-drop. If an enemy plays Hobgoblin against you, just use Odin. Laugh very hard. I don't know about Spider-Woman. I think I was just looking for a filler 5. Not that she's a bad 5, mind you. She's amazing. 5/7, big body. On reveal, afflict all enemy cards here with -1 power. So she's essentially a 5/10, 5/11 if played against a reasonably developed location. And you can play it again with our next drop. Odin! 6/8. Oh, he looks so innocent, doesn't he? Him with his gigantic Rob Liefeld biceps. But on reveal, he activates the on-reveal abilities of your other cards at this location. So if Jubilee only summoned 1 unit, and she probably only will summon 1 unit, she gets to summon yet another unit, giving you a reasonably sized board. You get to activate Spider-Woman again, Ironheart again. It may seem weird that I didn't just cram this with all on-reveal value, but first of all, I'm in pool 2. At least at the time of this recording, I am at pool 2. I'm already at pool 3, which I saw the caches. They look like a nightmare. But you don't need Odin to gain maximum value. There's only like 3 other cards in that slot. You can only get so much value efficiently with the on-reveal cards. To focus more on getting even a single repeat. I mean, yes, it's fun to see the dream of 4, 5, 6, 4 Jubilee into Spider-Woman, into something, then Odin to maximize everything, but that's not going to be the case. Don't get greedy with Odin. In fact, there are times when playing Odin is not even the right call. You might not need the reveal. You might just need to spread your power around so to minimize the odds of the other guy playing well against you. Okay, our last drop is Hulk. 6/12 does nothing. Hulk smash. If you want to be slightly smarter, get America Chavez. You always draw this in turn 6 and not before. But when you play Hulk on turn 4 with Jubilee, who might, because of locations, bounce back to your hand, it depresses people. And I'm here for it. Do watch out for Shang-Chi's though. They're running around a lot. That's a deck. In previous card games, I recorded videos while commentating on them. This one, I'm going to try post-commentary. I hope you enjoy it anyway. Deck code will be below. I don't know why you'd want that. But the Infinity Knot version will also be down below. This is Pool 2, and I am Patinator. I hope you enjoy the gameplay. Alright, post-game commentary. This is going to be a new experience for you and me. I'm going to try to be more analytical about this. We start with Murder World on the left, which is depressing because I don't think I have an armor in this deck, but I do have a Storm. So I guess that was my plan. The plan, as always, is to dominate one lane first. Force a huge commitment there, then we can play around what we do. I'm immediately going to Storm Murder World. He snapped because he thinks I have brain damage, which is understandable because you can't really tell sometimes, can you? Murder World is concerning because I have to commit to that area to win it, and could also cause you to lose a tie somehow. Now that can't be right. You can't have like over 100. You can probably have over 101 areas. Sentinels indicates that this is one of those dino decks, as well as the Collector and Agent 13. We're going to try to keep her handful, and I'm going to throw Jubilee on that Mojo World. Big House, I don't know if we're ever going to be fighting for that. We don't have anything that we can toss on it, except maybe Scarlet Witch, and that's a bit of a gamble. Now, I don't know if he managed to duplicate his dinosaur, but you can check it if they play it poorly. If they play the dupe dinosaur, it will say created by Moon Girl, so you know what's going on. This is a 10-point play, so I'm of course gonna go for it. Of course. We're gonna bet all we have on that row and them being unable to transfer anything to Flooded. Although recently I have seen a lot of people teching Envision just to handle Flooded, and that's kind of cool. I might even do that in this deck, but man, I want pool 3, I want Lockjaw. Here's where Pat does some quick math. And by quick math, I mean really thinks about it. I could challenge middle row with Hulk, and I think that's why my mouse is veering towards it. Do I have brain damage? Do I replace that with Odin? Please, Pat, pass Pat, thank you. Oh my god. Oh, okay, that would have been terrible. Like, why don't we just play the Hulk? When Spider-Woman plus Odin is a slightly bigger play, potentially because of Ironheart. Because 8 plus 4 is 12 already, and we get potentially more with Ironheart. So he challenges the middle row. It's strange that he only challenged with one. I guess he wanted to maintain a power in the Devil Dinosaur. Man, watching me play in the past is a little horrifying, I have to admit, and now I kind of know what you guys feel about watching me play, and it's not a great experience. Well, it's at least exciting. Next up, a match against someone whose name I can't pronounce or even read. We start with a Quicksilver as always, and our first location is... I hate Lechaguila. That's like super bad if you need to commit to it and you have a Jubilee, because she might just throw a rock at you, meaning she's a 4-point, 1 power play that also takes up space. I'm probably going to go straight to trying to storm the third location, as always. 5 power isn't bad. I wish... If we weren't running Jubilee, I could probably run more lower power abilities. I would have liked not to hit the vault. Limiting their options really gives me a great idea of what we can do. And later on, I think a few days ago, so I was like, hey, you're also playing a Storm. I also enjoy the Storm. I'm probably going to play White Queen on the left flooding rather than the right flooding. Try to challenge it as well. That was probably a good snap from them. I am confident. He probably is. He probably should be. I'm thinking about taunting. Let's just let it go. Plays the Jubilee on flooding. That's interesting. And gets a Rhino, which destroys the flooding. That's... In theory, I am at an advantage here, and I steal his Infinity Knot. There is an argument for passing. Because I've won one area, and that's probably what I'm thinking of. There's a very clear argument passing, but it really indicates Infinity Knot, and it doesn't work if he hits Ruins. Well, it kind of works if he hits Ruins. But I just play Infinity Knot on the biggest thing. But what do I do instead? I actually go Infinity Knot. That's weird. So now I don't know what's going to happen here. I have no choice. I have to commit. Maybe scare him off. What could he have? A Shang-Chi? But he goes first, so he can't hit it with the Shang-Chi. I don't believe you. What happens here? What can beat me? Let's pause. What can beat me here? The highest play is another Infinity Knot. Anything that spreads power towards other parts of the board, like a really, really lucky White Tiger beats me. Because he can get the flooded zone with White Tiger. Heimdall, ironically. Heimdall won't. Heimdall will actually... Professor X will actually prevent Heimdall from doing anything. I'm sure there's a play in Pool 2 that can do it. Pool 3 is a much larger nightmare. Dr. Doom can beat me there. Because I know, because I have a Dr. Doom and I've been doing that to people all day. The retreat is good. You know, I've started becoming afraid of when I see Carnage portraits. Because usually they kick my ass. Yes, Quicksilver, ever reliable. Let's see if I deviate from my plan here. Sometimes I'm forced to deviate, such as a Tinkerer's Workshop. The bad news about Tinkerer's Workshop on one, and I think you can only get that in the left location, is that I can't really take advantage of it. Multi-Millman is a problem. We don't have any real way of dealing with their deck. We don't have a Shang-Chi. We don't have ways to lock down an area aside from flooding, and they can pretty much ignore flooding. The good news is I don't have Storm with me, so Sunspot. I think later on I wise up and add Sunspot to the deck, but I wouldn't count on it. So that's weird. I could try to go for Murder World. I think I split my morph here. I'm thinking about splitting my morph. I don't really care about adding cards to their hand. It doesn't matter. And yet, I think I just want to commit to the area. Interesting. Doctor Strange moves out. Multiple Man isn't amazing on its own, but it's such a cool combo deck that I can't work my head around. I'm just not built that way. I'm built for big numbers now. I underdropped twice, not a great sign. Do I get hit with a Hobgoblin here? It's a big risk to throw a Hobgoblin here. Oh, I get a Hamdal. And it screws up my laning. Because now on going to turn 5, they're beating me on 2 rows. And that's rarely good. I think here I run. Yeah, I definitely run. And there's some... Let's pause here. The thing with trying to beat someone on turn 5, especially with established multiple men on the board, especially going to turn 6, I don't know if I could have stayed with Jubilee. Jubilee, since 2 of our 5 drops were here, our biggest drop would have been an Odin. And next would be, I think... I actually don't remember the deck that we had. I change the deck so often because we keep getting new cards, and I like to experiment. This is actually really fun. Really fun part of this game is that I get to experiment a lot. We could have tried to gamble with Jubilee, but I didn't want to gamble the snaps away. I think there was a shot of succeeding here. If we had dropped a Jubilee on, we had dropped a Jubilee on 5 against maybe Vero on the left. No, I would have dropped it on the right. I would have tried to commit to here, this area, because the most movement ability short of Cloak push things to the left. And keeping that in mind, I tried to push this area with the Jubes, hope for the Odin drop, and hopefully we fill it out. The problem is if we don't get the Odin drop, we cannot possibly fill out the row. So that was too big of a gamble for me. I've never thought of myself as gambling averse, but here we are. There was a shot of winning this, but I played on the side of caution, which I don't know, maybe that's cost me more matches than I would like. All right, last match. Hope you enjoy it. Who are we fighting? Well, what are we fighting, rather? Okie dokie. First up is Shuri's Lab. Thank God I have Scarlet Witch in my hand. God, I'm immediately gonna nuke that. I can't do the math. I don't know the averages yet. And a single card suddenly becomes far more valuable in Shuri's Lab. Especially if you weren't able to commit big things there. Fortunately, Mojo World is in the middle, forcing me to commit heavily in order to challenge it. But I don't even know if I want to challenge it. I might go third row for a morph out there. They're much better suited for handling it because of... Until I turn it into Central Park and then... Everyone's got squirrels, and all of a sudden, taking that area isn't so difficult. Morph! Why there? Because I don't want to put it in the middle, I think. I think in the middle, I'd rather have Jubilee running around. I'm thinking about it. I finally come to a decision. I also can't get any value from Hell's Kitchen on the right because I don't have any other 1-drops aside from Quicksilver. There is a Patriot card in pool 3, I think, that 3 cost 1 power, things that don't have text. Blade gets the lucky drop on Swarm, so he's got 2 of them in hand. And I copy it! That's a good snap. I lose my mind and immediately drop Jubilee because... Actually, we're still kind of ahead. The units on the Mojo World board aren't that threatening. Until he moves Nightcrawler, because I keep forgetting him do that. Moon Knight luckily does not get our Spider-Woman, which could be critical, but it does hit his Apocalypse. Bringing it up to 12. He's got 1 more Swarm in hand. It causes 0, so I should be Careful of it. I get for Lucky Odin. Look at that shiny Odin. I don't think I've ever upgraded my Jubes. Oh well. What do we get? A Hobgoblin, which is probably the best pull. I can block up the lane, punish the Mojo World, and still commit to it. At 5, do I want to split? I feel like the answer is to split. Create a threat on the right, because we have such a huge advantage on middle. Like, it'll take them 2 cards to challenge it, and they don't have 2 cards. He plays a Swarm, which I'm not sure. I think that's just a placeholder now. At this point, we know he's got Apocalypse in hand, and he can't put it in the middle. So all I have to do is play anything into the middle row and call it a day. And Apocalypse is there. There are very few matches in the game that will, especially as you experience more matches, there are very few matches that will be as clean cut as this, especially with the Lucky Jubilee draws. And I think that's why I play Jubilee and Morph. I like gambling. Not great when there's a snap mechanic involved. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the... Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a little scuffed, but I haven't done this in a while. Bear with me. If you enjoyed it, do all the good things, you know, like ring that bell, subscribe, leave a comment. Please do not expect this to be like super consistent. Maybe I'll do some new stuff if some of the patch notes are interesting to me. But that's not necessarily going to happen because of the way cards are dealt out in the game. If you didn't know, it's complicated. It requires a number of things to go right for you to get the cards you want, and it's a time commitment to just get the cards you want. So that's a whole thing. So I can't just like throw money at it and then be like, hey, this is what I want. This is the card I want so I can build this cool new deck. There's a dice roll, especially apparently in pool 3. You get to a slot that's usually a mystery card or a guaranteed card, and all of a sudden, it's a collector's cache, which could contain money, but not a card. So that's a little upsetting. So yeah, don't consider this a consistent... Oh my god, that's terrible. I pulled an armor with Jubilee. Don't consider it a super consistent show, but it will pop by every now and then. I consider muting him because he's about to give me some hell. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Patinator, and I will see you later. Also, what do you think? Snap-tacular? Marvel Snap-tacular? Yeah, maybe.